when did you start loving music?
Well, music has been in my family from before I was born. You know, my grandfather, Ramon Corpus, after whom this hall is named, was the first Filipino violinist who went abroad, studied at the Guildhall School of Music in London, and then after that, that tradition came home. There's been music in the house of my lolos, my lola. So the music has been part of the living room ever since. So we were born into it. My generation, it was me, my two brothers, my two other cousins, my uncle. So we would get together every Sunday to play music. And then, you know, there was no TV so much. We had 3 channels or 4 channels. So it was mostly about books, going to concerts, and playing music at home, especially on weekends.
When did you pick up the violin?
The violin came to me when I was 8 years old. Medyo late na nga eh. My brother, Jed, the pianist, started the piano around 1969. And then my brother, when Oscar Yatko, the violinist, came home from Germany, and my brother was doing so well on the piano at UST, Oscar said, sige, we'll pick 2 scholars, no, you and you. It was me and my other brother, this one on violin and this one on cello. So, ganun ka random, and we took it, you know, as our responsibility.
Did you ever, before that, were you always thinking of playing the violin?
Actually, wanting to play the violin, I remember listening to a lot of records and saying the violin really was the thing that I was most attached to. You know, for its singing quality, for its weeping qualities, for its lonely qualities. Yeah, and you know, we used to go to concerts at CCP all the time. So by the time we were asked to play the instrument, it was not a big chore for us.
So you picked it up at 8, and that was start of formal instruction.
Formal instruction at 8 years old, yeah.
And how long did that last?
Maiksi lang yun. I was 8, and by the time I was 12, I won the national competition for young artists. Then I went to Juilliard the following year.
Tell us about your violin. What is
well, this is a Roca, Enrico Roca, made in around there's no label, but it's attributed to Enrico Roca, made in about 1848. This was bought by my father for me as a gift in 1988. Yeah.
Is this your first violin?
No. This is about my 4th violin.
And this is the violin you use when you play?
Yes, this is the violin I use when I play. Before this, my grandfather was the heir apparent of Teodoro Yango. I don't know if you know the philanthropist. And when he went to Guildhall in London, Teodoro Yango bought him a Guarnerius, which me and my cousins used when we were very young, which we lost in America. It got lost in the transfer. We were moving from apartment to apartment, and my cousins thought I had it. I thought they had it. So I moved out, and apparently it was in my closet. And the movers we left it there. The closet was left with some things in it, and the violin was one of them. And we lost it completely. So that was my 2nd violin, actually, which I used while I was in Juilliard.
How long did you stay at Juilliard?
Juilliard, I was at Juilliard for 2 years. And then I moved to a school in Philadelphia, and then eventually to a school in Indiana. Yeah.
And you came back here?
Actually, a very complicated new story. But I went to Juilliard for 2 years, and then I quit the violin.
Why?
Because, I went to Juilliard, I was 13, so by the time I was 15, I was kind of a distracted young boy. And so I told my parents, siguro maybe violin is not the thing for me. I'd like to go home and maybe think about it. So I spent a year or 2 in Ateneo at School of Economics, and then one dinner, Mrs. Marcos invited me to Malacanang just to have dinner with Van Cliburn. And she said, bring a violin and play, since he wants to play some chamber music. So I played with Mr. Cliburn, and he said, what is this boy doing here? He should be abroad. So Mrs. Marcos then and there said, sige, if you want, you'll be my scholar. So I went back to America under Mrs. Marcos. It was called the Young Artist Foundation of the Philippines, of which Cecilica, my brothers, Rene Dalandan, Raul Sunico, we were that batch of scholars of Mrs. Marcos. I think up to the end of my college years in Indiana. Yeah, for about 8 years.
What was significant about that scholarship in terms of your music?
Well, having government support, what seemed like government support, certainly was a boost for us, because it made us very proud to be there under the auspices of Mrs. Marcos. Plus, Juilliard gave me a scholarship. Yeah, so a big help.
In terms of the technique?
In terms of the confidence, the technique, of course not. The technique belongs to the teacher and to the school. But having the support of the government, of Juilliard, the infrastructure was a boost of confidence, I think. Made us very proud to be music scholars.
And then when did you come home again?
I came home I started coming home. We were touring all over the world, 1988 up to 1992. We were going, I had a residency in Dodge City, Kansas. So I was there living, in the boonies. I was under Artist Affiliate, which was a management company that was promoting young artists. So we were being brought on tour. So I was based in Dodge City. At the same time, I was performing in New York, in Paris, in Asia, in China. So I was doing a lot of traveling, and I was always come by the Philippines on those tours. And by chance, in 1988, this farm came into our possession because this was an ancestral farm which was owned by many titas and titos. In 88, it became the Bolipata farm.
Casa San Miguel is the happy place for many artists, both young and not so young. It is our place for our collective wordless unease, where it finds its voice in a painting, a dance, a song, to describe maybe the wonder of a tree, the adoration of a parent, but also for an unspeakable horror, an outrage that cannot be held.
Having seen a lot of things in Europe and festivals and residencies, I told my parents, siguro, instead of doing community work in America, why don't I do it here and try and do something with this farm that had just come into our possession. So that was 1988 when we got the farm. In 1991, I decided to come home, and I started conceptualizing the whole center and started building in 93.
What's the center about? Tell us about it.
Well, it's called Casa San Miguel, which is an acronym for Center for the Arts in San Antonio. It's a foundation, and we're here bringing cultural programs to the community because normally, when you think of classical music, it's always the city, it's pangmayaman, and we wanted to set it in this setting, much like we did in Kansas. And in Kansas, it was starting to take root, but there were still a lot of difficulties, and I saw some of the problems that could be solved, which I did here.
What were the challenges in setting up the center?
Nako, marami. I mean, there's so many. I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about pedagogy. I mean, this was really. I was just doing it by. I was just winging it really from in the beginning. So, I think the major challenge in the beginning was marketing. We had come. This was built at the heels of Pinatubo, 1991. So people were expecting livelihood programs. They were expecting loans, and we came with a culture program, bringing visual arts, music, film. So that was the first big challenge, getting an audience to come, getting people to understand what we were doing, which is why in 1996 we put up the school. Now, in 1993 it was just really a festival structure for concerts and exhibits. In 1996 we put up the school and we started to train local talents from the community.
Are people outside of the urban areas ready for cultural training in the arts?
In terms of, well, there are advantages and disadvantages to it, although, like you said, social media has been a tremendous help because before living here, in the 90s, we had no cell phone, we had no access to the internet. But now, a lot of influences, a lot of like the gold standards of performance, YouTube, you watch it, then you say, ganyan pala dapat yung ganito. So immediately, it's been a big boost for what we're doing here. But in the beginning, mostly the challenges in terms of pedagogy were the kids being very shy. They had the ability, but they were very, very shy. I mean, performing, you have to come on stage, people will clap for you. See, it took a lot of years for us to develop the confidence of the kids.
Ako po si Mirel Magsaysay. Ako po ay isang student teacher dito sa Casa. Tinuturuan po kami dito for free. And then at the same time po, nagtuturo din kami for free. Yung formal ko po, 12 years old. Pero nagkaroon po ako ng nag-start po ng 7 years old. May isang gathering po nun. Tapos, nakasama po namin sa table is yung mother ni Sir Coke. Then, tinanong niya po kung gusto ko mag-violin. Doon po nag-start. Lahat kami gustong-gusto po mag-violin, and then sa music, may mga iba din po kasi halos lahat artists. Malaki po yung naitulong sa akin ng Casa. Talagang gumaling po ako, malayo po sa nung nag-start ako. Masaya po sa feeling na nai-share ko yung naituro sa akin dati sa mas mga bata sa akin para sa susunod sila naman yung magtuturo sa mas younger sa kanila.
Do you have favorite student?
I'm not allowed to.
Are there students you like because of their quality?
Well, in terms of musicianship, there's definitely those who stand out. But in terms of being a mentor to many children, they all have characteristics that make them different from each other, and I have to love them for those. It makes them all equal in my eyes.
What's your takeaway from being a mentor to these children?
What's my takeaway? Well, I never had kids of my own. So in a way, this has become my way of being a father to children. It's taught me a lot. I've dealt with a lot of kids, and I think part of the, in the profile, they always say I work with kids from the fishermen, which is something that I never really look at. I don't see the kids as poverty children. I've learned a lot from them about just being a little bit more pure, unadulterated by media, by consumer items. When they come here, they just come here to learn. There's no mall. We don't have TVs in the center. So that kind of purity is something that I really appreciate about them.
What effect does it have on the family and community?
Well, these kids are different because a lot of them, being in a rural area, many of them have parents who are OFWs. And I think when we look at what the role we've played in the community, it's really where we are their second home, if not their primary home, because they're here, they eat here, and this is where they come because they're happy here. And I've seen it. The kids have a lot of them don't have a mother, don't have a father. They're raised by their lola or their lolo. So this is where they come really for their formation, in terms of having a family to support them.
Beauty is merely its spirit, a resonance that both radiates compassion and humanizes. This personal belief, my philosophy, is the heart of the program at Casa San Miguel. I've witnessed personally the positive changes art and music have made on children. It is an undeniable fact and is the main reason, despite the many challenges, Casa San Miguel continues from year to year. The collective joy that art and music brings to our community far outmeasures its challenges in keeping it alive.
Do you have a favorite piece?
I always say my favorite piece is the piece that I'm tasked to play at the moment. So if they say you have to play this concerto, that becomes my favorite piece. But in terms of favorite composer, it would have to be Bach. Yeah.
And what piece from Bach?
Everything.
Everything from Bach?
Everything, yes.
Why Bach?
Kasi everything he seems to be the seminal composer. Everything after Bach, everyone after Bach always relates to Bach. So in terms of harmony, in terms of progression, in terms of everything, the way you write, there's always, Bach has influenced every composer after him.
What do you think of when you play the violin?
I think kami, we're trained, and part of the discipline is when you perform, you are really, like an actor, you are assuming the role of the composer. So you really have to know, behind what's written, you have to know what the composer was going through when he wrote it. You have to go through what his wife was doing, why he wrote it, the scene during that time. So it's a lot of forgetting who you are and taking the place of the composer.
So you're reliving an emotion, someone else's emotion.
Yes, someone else's reality.
Do you enjoy that?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult, especially when the works are, like we have works about, we have some composers who were concentration camp people, so they're writing about, having the numbers on their wrists and being oppressed and not having food and all of this. So those things are very difficult. That's a difficult place to take, when it's things like that. But yeah, we do it because it teaches us a lot about humanity and about history.
Do you play any Tagalog songs?
Oh naman, of course.
What's your favorite Tagalog song?
Well, the favorite that people love, which is Sana'y Wala Nang Wakas, but there are many other classical compositions that people don't know about, such as the Cavatina by Abelardo. That was written by him. That was a college piece that he wrote for UP, at UP to graduate.
Filipinos talented musician.
Absolutely. Yan ang, definitely. Yeah, there's something there that cannot be taught, that's there inherently. I think the Filipinos sings already in their mind, in their heart. It's built in.